last night. I know it's Valentine, the morning works look fine. You know the jockeys, brothers are a friend of mine. And just a minute, boys.
Hello racing fans, and welcome back to another edition of Handicapper's Corner, brought to you by the Derby Bar and Grill. I'm Mike Heads along with Drew Forrester. We're going to go through day number 2 of the Breeders' Cup.
The big day.
Yes, Saturday, November 1st, 12 races on tap at Santa Anita Racecourse. Things get underway early at 10:15 in the morning with the first race.
First Breeders' Cup race right around 12.
Okay. Let's get right into the action. We've got 12 of them, so
we'll get going.
Yeah, Juvenile Turf Sprint. I got a full field in here, going 6.5 furlongs on the downhill course. I ended up on the 8-horse War Alert. And don't get a much better pedigree than this.
Yeah.
So a War Front out of a Lemon Drop Kid mare. This horse was compromised. This filly was compromised last time and had a tough trip early, and just going by what the short comments are. But I like Jamie Spencer as a rider, and he's done very well when he does come over. He seems to fit in with the U.S. riders, where others look a little awkward. He doesn't. He looks very accomplished, like a Frankie Dettori. But I'm going to try the 8 War Alert. I put the 12-horse Faithful Creek, another Euro with Kieran Fallon aboard for Brian Meehan. The one poor race, looking back on form, was there on July the 30th at Goodwood in England. It was just coming back in 13 days, perhaps, was what I thought maybe was too quick. This is why the horse was a little flat. But come back since with 2 good efforts, goes on Lasix, gets blinkers on the outside post, is excellent. And I put the 3 Ocho in the 3rd spot. Horse that looked good breaking its maiden. It was on the dirt, but there is some turf in the pedigree. So I put that one in for 3rd. I didn't love anyone in here, but I'm going to try 8, 12, and 3.
Yeah, you can make a case for a lot of these. I went to the 10 Guilty. Comes over to the John Sadler barn out of Richard Hannon's barn. It was another Euro on the turf. It's got 2 wins over there. 6 lifetime starts, 2 wins, 3 thirds. So it's a horse that pretty accomplished, coming over from Europe, a lightly raced 2-year-old colt. Gets Victor Espinoza, John Sadler, in very good hands here over in North America. The 2nd spot, I put Faithful Creek, the same one you had in the 2nd spot. Kieran Fallon riding for Brian Meehan. Another one that's got the pedigree. The blinkers go on, so look for this horse maybe to be involved early on. And the 3rd spot, I went with the 5, Wesley Ward's horse. Crown the Kitten gets Frankie Dettori. 2 wins in a row. One at Kentucky Downs, one at Retama, but Wesley Ward's horse is going very good right now. It's a kitten's joy, so it will not mind the turf. I got 10, 12, and 5 in the opener on Saturday. On to the 2nd, the Golden State Juvenile, 200 grander, going 7 furlongs for 2-year-old boys. And I went with Mario, Wake Up Nick, out of the Leandro Mora, quote-unquote Doug O'Neill barn. 5 starts, 5 wins, hasn't made a step wrong yet for owner Paul Redham. I'll put that one on top. Acceptance, I have in the 2nd spot, just the 1 start for Don Warren, but very impressive win, won by 13 at Santa Anita. Very, a colt with a lot of upside, a lot of things to like about Acceptance. And the 3rd spot, I went to the 4, Smack Talk, Joe Talamo and our good friend Van Belvoir's horse, another one, first-time starter, 1, going 5 furlongs. Decent pedigree for a California pedigree. Looks like he'll stretch out. So I went 2, 1, and 4 in the 2nd.
Yeah, I went with the 1-horse Acceptance in here. This horse was super impressive. I went back and watched the replay. This horse didn't break well, was up in contention early, was in trouble, shuffled back, come on, just dragged Elvis Trujillo in between horses. He had his choice of mounts in here. He's finished winning for Jerry Hollendorf on the 7-horse Pulmerac, but he ends up on Acceptance. This is a nice-looking colt. He certainly looked the part. He drew away easily. I think he's ready for this Calbred Stakes Company, and I'm going to try him to win it. Put the 4 Smack Talk. I'm impressed with his debut. He's 4 wide early, 3 wide on the turn. He drew away like a good colt. Been off since Delmore, though. It's a bit of a concern, but still the works are good for Van. And the 7-horse Pulmerac, I put that one in for 3rd. It was between Wake Up Nick and Pulmerac. Things get tougher. I know Wake Up Nick's 5 for 5, but it was perhaps beating up on some easier competition in some of those Calbred races that weren't all that strong. But this one come up tough. I went 1, 4, and 7 in the 2nd. The 3rd race, this is the Senator Ken Matty. A 6.5 furlongs downhill, grade 3 event for fillies and mares.
Another one down the tricky downhill turf course.
Tricky downhill course is getting a lot of play. I went to the 3, Stars Above Me. Perhaps a little too sharp last time. This horse was very good in New York. at Saratoga. Won first time out, came back, had no chance, was blocked steady, was best, but never did find room. Went back to California with this race in mind, got a prep in the Unzip Me, and was just a little too sharp. 43-3 for the opening half, kind of got away on Elvis Trujillo, gets his regular pilot, Irad Ortiz, back in the saddle, and I think this horse will get covered up. I mean, some of these Euro types, when they don't get covered up early, they over race, and I think that was the case with her. I think she's better than the horses that she lost to, and I'm going to try her to win it. I put the 5 Gender Agenda for Carla Gaines and Javier Castellano, and this horse just finished ahead of my top pick. I like the way this horse was coming down to the line, and nicely drawn in gate 5, so I'll put that one in the mix. And in the 3rd spot, I put the 14 Duchessa. Comes out of the Biorhythm race. This is the one I want to take out of that optional 75, or that it was in a claiming event. But this horse is lightly raced. It's his 3rd run off a layoff. Went on Lasix last time. There was no speed up front. Had the inside. Kind of got shuffled back early. Was traveling very well at the end of the race. Wasn't being persevered with really by Brice Blanc. Almost like it was just a prep race for this one, and I like the draw on the outside. This is like a 40-1 shot that I think can get in the money. I'm going to give this horse a shot, but I do like the 3 stars above me. I went 3, 5, and 14.
I went to the 4, Velvet Miesk of the Blake Heat Barn, Mike Smith in the tack. This is a horse that's run down this tricky downhill turf course 6 times, 5 wins. So she knows the course. She figures out the course, and with Mike Smith in there, that doesn't hurt at all. The 2nd spot, I went with the Homer, my brother's horse. My brother Grant Forster bringing one out from Churchill Downs. Was running very well at Fairgrounds this winter. Won an allowance race, then won a little overnight stake. Came out to Santa Anita already once and ran in a grade 3 against Judy the Beauty and some very tough fillies. Went back there and has been running grade 3s and overnight stakes and not embarrassing herself. So 10 Broke's bringing her out here. She gets Rafael Bejarano. As we mentioned, very deep jocks pool, so everybody gets a decent rider today, that's for sure. So I put Warm Breeze in the 2nd spot. And then the 3rd spot, I went to the 10 on the back streets out of the Peter Miller barn. Another one that knows this course well. 4 starts, 3 wins. I like those horses that are good down the downhill turf course. I went 4, 7, and 10. In the 3rd.
First Breeders' Cup race.
On to the 4th.
Juvenile Fillies.
Juvenile Fillies going a mile and a 16th. Again, being a homer, I went with our man Glenn Todd's horse, Majestic Presence, Elvis Trujillo. Broke her maiden at Del Mar in a very nice fashion. Went to the lead the whole way. And ran against a bunch of these last time in the Chandelier and had a brutal trip and got bounced around. She was wide. She and was still running on at the end. It looked like she was going to pack it in and absolutely call it a day. But she kept picking up horses and running on. So I thought that was a very hardy effort by her. And Jerry Hollendorfer doesn't put horses in these races for fun. So I put her on top, going with the boss. 2nd spot, I went with number 2, Angelina Renee, Todd Pletcher's horse. She did win that Chandelier impressively, got very good buyers. You just throw out that one race, the Spinaway at Saratoga in the slop. Everything else has been pretty sterling performances for the daughter of Bernardini. Run this distance once and she won. So the Todd Pletcher, John Velasquez runner, you don't want to leave those out on big days. In the 2nd spot, and in the 3rd spot, I went with Bill's Mott horse, Puka. She just finished running in a maiden special weight at Belmont where she won by 16. Looks like maybe it took her a little while to get going, but her buyers are going in the right direction. Bill Mott definitely has his horses ready on these big days, and she gets Joel Rosario. 7, 2, and 8 for me.
Yeah, I agree. I like the 7, Majestic Presence. I don't think you're going to get 20-1 on the horse. This horse was 4th in the Chandelier.
And we're not doing that just to save our jumps.
No, this horse. Go watch the replay. The 3 horses that beat her, Angela Renee, Conquest Eclipse, and Danette, all got rail trip. They all followed each other along the rail. It was Angela Renee with the best trip. Conquest Eclipse was right in behind her, and then Danette. And here's poor Majestic Presence out 4 wide the whole race, was taking the worst of it. Yeah. And still held on well.
Like I say, had every reason to kind of pack it in, and she kept
all she needs is a better trip, and she gets it. She's as good as Angela Renee. So Majestic Presence for me is the play. This horse had a disastrous trip last time. I put the 4 Conquest Eclipse in for 2nd, and I agree with your 8 horse Puka. Goes first time Lasix after that romp against easier maidens. And actually her race on the turf wasn't all that bad. Running 3rd behind Lady Eli, who was one of the top picks in the Juvenile Fillies turf on Friday. Yeah. So she's been keeping good company, Puka. So it certainly looks like a filly with a lot of potential. But this is a good race. There's one other horse I wanted to mention before we go on to the 5th is a 10 horse Wonder Gal. This horse was totally against the track that day, was done on the inside, Horses on the inside at Belmont, that dirty, sloppy, deep track, were not doing well. So for this horse to run second, she's the one I want out of the Frisette. If you want anyone out of the Frisette, I think you want the 10 Wonder Gal. I want 7, 4, and 8 though in the 4th. On to the 5th race. This is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. We're going to go 1.25 miles. A little tricky start. They start on the turn here. There's 11 of them signed on to run. I ended up on the 2, just the judge, Jamie Spencer.
Yep.
This horse has been running well since coming over here to North America. Ran well in the Beverly D at Arlington Park. Kind of got bottled up in behind horses. It says out-kicked, but a lot of the horses that were down on the inside didn't do very well. It was a kind of a tough turf course that day. It says firm, but Hardest Core ended up winning the Arlington Million. It was a long shot, stayed way on the outside. There's some horses that didn't care for that turf that day, and I think she might have been one of them. She went up to Woodbine, easily, comfortably won the EP Taylor. Final quarter in 23 flat. She certainly showed this quality filly, and she's been running well all the time.
Yeah.
I like Just the Judge to win it. I put the 3-horse Dank, who won this race last year at Santa Anita. Her 2014 form has been a little light, but she definitely have to respect her off her run last year for Sir Michael Stout.
Yeah, she's coming over for a reason.
And a long shot to toss in. I put the 8 Irish Mission. Got a little far out of it against slow fractions and quite wide. Got some trouble at Santa Anita in the Rodeo Drive. That was her first run since running primarily back east. So at least she's been over on the West Coast for a while. Actually, she flew back to Belmont to work for Christophe Clement. Now flies back, but she's better than her form shows. She's a nice mare that can go 1.25 miles, and I wouldn't sell her short either. And I love Joel Rosario on her. I went 2, 3, and 8 in the Filly and Mare Turf.
I don't have a lot to add. I had the same top 2 as Mike. I flip-flopped him. I went with Dank. As you say, she's not coming over here for nothing. Won this race last year. The difference is last year she came over and had a start in Arlington, the Beverly D, which she won with 107 buyer. Then went to the Breeders' Cup and won that with 104 buyer. She doesn't have that prep this year, but she's a little off form. But just off back class, I'm going to give the nod to Dank. Just the Judge, for the reasons Mike mentioned. She's been going very well since coming over here. She's going to be a handful in here. And the 3rd spot, I went with Stephanie's Kitten. She's made $2.2 million. She's ran this distance twice with a win in the 2nd. Chad Brown, John Velasquez. What more do you say?
And his wife's name is Stephanie, too.
Oh, yeah, and my wife's name is Stephanie. Thank you. Yes, I better throw that in there.
Throw that one.
3, 2, and 10 for me in the 5th. On to the 6th, the Filly Mare Sprint, going 7 furlongs. I landed on the 5, Artemis Agoretta out of the Michael Hushen barn. 3 straight wins. Won an optional 40 at Saratoga by 10. Came back in a Grade 1 Ballerina, won by 6. Then at Belmont, she won by just a head last time, but 3 straight wins in a row. She made just under $1 million. A 3-year-old filly by Roman Ruler of an AP Indy mare. Lots to like about this filly. Got her on top. The 2nd spot, I put Judy the Beauty. Another kind of a win machine. 15 of 17 in the money with a 3rd in there. She's made $1.1 million. Daughter of Ghost Sapper, and she'll be a handful in here. She gets Mike Smith for top conditioner, Wesley Ward. Look for her in this one. And the 3rd spot, I put the 9-horse, Living the Life. Gary Mandela's horse was running very good overseas. She'll get the distance. She's ran the distance 11 times, 4 wins, 3 seconds, 2/3. Gets Rafael Bejarano. Since coming over to this side of the pond, she ran one at Del Mar and Prairie Meadows. Won both of those with Mike Smith in the irons. Bejarano takes over. I got 5, 7, and 9.
Yeah, I ended up on the 6-horse Lee Court. Just something different. This horse, she's going to get play. Gary Boulanger rides for Josie Carroll, a Woodbine horse. Went down to Keeneland to prove that she can handle the dirt, and didn't get away well. The rail isn't the best spot to be necessarily, going 6 furlongs. Kind of get shuffled back. Was one of the back markers early, but just looped the field, as the comment says, and drew away. The competition wasn't super tough, but I just like the fact that she knows how to win races. She's 7 for 11 lifetime, and she showed she can handle the dirt. She's been primarily a poly track horse, but I'll try the 6 Lee Court and Gary Boulanger. I put the 2-horse Little Alexis in for 2nd. Joel Rosario rides. This horse ran at Parks in the Cotillion. Kind of a wide-out trip against Untappable, Sweet Reason, and Jojo Warrior. I really don't think she wants to go 1.16 miles. I think the 6 furlongs will be better for her. You look at her run in Saratoga when she did lose to Sweet Reason. She had a pile of trouble in the Grade 1 test. She's lightly raced. She's got a lot of upside. I love her work at Santa Anita. Wow, she went a half mile there in 45 and change. And once again, Joel Rosario, who rode her last time, is back aboard. Just a long shot maybe to pitch in. Might even be able to win it. And I put the 7, Judy the Beauty, as you mentioned, a classy filly. Likely
Yeah.
should be the favorite and is the horse to beat. Definitely on paper, she's the best horse in here, the 7, Judy the Beauty. But she's been a little sparse in running this year. She still won 3 out of 4, though. She still knows how to
it doesn't
win.
seem to be the same dominant filly she was
No,
last
she
year.
was. And yeah, she might be a little better on poly track, but she definitely does handle the dirt well. I went 6-2-7 in the sprint, the filly mare sprint. On to the boys sprint. This is the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, actually.
Another one down the hill.
This is for actually open company. He's got a filly in here down on the inside. Renee's got Zip. But Scratch the 9, Free as a Bird. That one has been scratched.
Is that one out?
That one's out. Sorry.
Alrighty.
Just heard that one just recently. But I went to the 2-horse Silentio. Horse that's is unproven on the dirt. I don't know how he's going to, or pardon me, unproven to 6.5. This horse has been running a mile and farther. Actually in the Breeders' Cup mile last year on the turf and performed admirably. Went 3rd behind Wise Down and Za Approval. Probably entered in this race to get away from Wise Down, but he ended up getting hurt anyway.
Yeah.
But this horse there's a lot of speed in here, and I just see Silentio maybe getting a good trip under Victor Espinoza, so I like him. I put the little speedy mare, Renee's got Zip. She loves this course, and she's very quick. And I'm going to give her a big shot. Edwin Maldonado rides for Peter Miller. And the 5 is Ambitious Brew. Just lost last time to Home Run Kitten at this in the Eddie D at this on the same course. 1:11 and change was the final time, but still wasn't disgraced. That was his first run since February, so I think there is more upside. Nice prep race, and look for this horse to get even better. But it's a tough race.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in here. I had a lot of trouble with it. I went 2, 1, and 5.
I went to the far outside, no nay never, Frankie Dettori for Wesley Ward. Very accomplished son of Scat Daddy. He's only ran 5 times, 4 wins in a second. The second was in the Swale. Then he came back and won the Woodford at Keeneland. And Dettori, Wesley Ward, I think a lot to like about this lightly raced 3-year-old, no nay never. The second spot I had Free as a Bird, so that one's out. I'll go to my 3rd pick, which was Ambitious Brew, Martin Jones, another one that Mike liked. Mike Smith, Martin Jones, just got nosed last time.
Off a big layoff, and that was the big thing.
Yeah,
it was a big layoff in February.
Another one too that is run over this tricky course 4 times, 3 wins in a second. So he knows this course well. So in the 3rd spot, I'll go with the filly of the Peter Miller Barn. Renee's got Zip. She's always very tough in these races too.
14-5 and 1.
14-5 and 1 for me in the 7th. On to the 8th. Got to get through all these pages here. On to the 8th. The Juvenile Classic race, 1.16 for 2-year-old boys for a purse of $2 million. Field of 13. And I've gone to the 4, the Great War. Aidan O'Brien's other horse. He had them both nominated for the Juvenile Turf. He split them up. He put the Great War, which I think is maybe the liver one, in probably the tougher race in the dirt race. But 7 starts, 3 wins. He's a war front. They paid $1 million for him, so you know he looks the part. He's got his regular Aidan O'Brien's go-to guy Moore aboard. I got the Great War in the top spot. The second spot, I went to the outside. The 12 Daredevil out of the Todd Pletcher barn. 2 runs, 2 wins, got a 107 buyer in the Champagne last time in the slop, and still won. Javier Castellano sticks with him. Great name, Daredevil. 2 starts, 2 wins, so I'll keep him in the mix. And the 3rd spot, I went with American Pharaoh. I heard a rumor he might be out too.
I think he's scratched. He is scratched,
American Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Another one. I'm picking all the horses that are scratched. So in the 3rd spot, I'll go with Carpe Diem. Good name. Another speedy type, a Giants Causeway. They paid $1.6 million for him.
Undefeated Pletcher.
Another undefeated Pletcher horse. John Velasquez takes over for that one. So I'll go 4, 12, and 9 now. I gotta adjust my picks. 4, 12, and 9 in the 8th.
I like the 12 Daredevil. This horse was super impressive in the Champagne. The final time was 136 and change, which is why he got a huge buyer, because the fillies the same day in the Frazette went 139 for a mile, so almost 3 seconds faster for him. And you should have seen him. If you go watch the replay, Javier Castellano is just perched on him. He's absolutely not using him at all. This is an impressive looking colt by More Than Ready out of a 49er mare. But if he can handle the outside draw, the 12 Daredevil, it should win quite comfortably, especially with American Pharaoh being out.
Yeah.
I put the 13 Upstart in for second. He ran behind him. He seems to be I don't know. I don't think he can beat Daredevil. If you watch the replay, you definitely can see that he was never going to get to him. But I'll put him in for second. And I put the 4, the Great War, your $1 million pedigree, in for third. I can see him as well. But I went 12, 13, and 4 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. On to the Breeders' Cup Turf. Running a mile and a half here. Usually the Europeans dominate.
Yeah.
Number 8, Magician, is out. Number 8, Magician.
Jeez, I'm having tough luck here.
Sorry, yeah, just got these scratches just before we went on air, but the 8 Magician is scratched. So I've gone to the 1 Telescope for Sir Michael Stout. Ricky Moore rides. Goes on Lasix. I thought a pretty good run last time at a similar trip. He's been running well all year. He hasn't missed the board in his 5 starts running in group races. You look at the time form rating, 121, 124. Those are high-end time form numbers, and nicely drawn in gate 1. It is a bit of a short run into the first turn, going a mile and a half. They actually start on the downhill turf course where they make the right-hand turn on the downhill course, but the 1 hole is a great spot. I put the 4 Brown Panther. Hopefully he's on a better behavior. He was the one that was the favorite in the Woodbine, what was it last week? The international,
Canadian
I guess.
International, yeah.
And he ran off with his rider and
dumped his rider,
ran around for a while, and got this King's coat back on again. So he's obviously going to give her another go. Might have a pony this time.
I would bet he does.
But Brown Panther, certainly a classy type. They must be respected. And I put the 12 horse Main Sequence in for third. He's been running very good back east. Not by winning by much, but still.
But winning.
But he's winning, and he against slow pace last time, which really hurt him. And awkward start. He had no position early, but he showed he's a classy horse. He got up and won it. So I've got him in for third. I think those are your horses. I mean, those look like the ones for me. I went 1, 4, and 12.
I have the same horses now. I did have Magician on top, so I did some scratching and sorted it out. So I do land on Brown Panther in the first spot. He was heavily favored in that race, as we mentioned at Woodbine, but was very fractious and unseated the rider. They got the rider back on, and then he hadn't got his pedals yet, and he sold out and just ran, dumped the rider.
Awful thing.
He was a scratch, so he's a handful, and I think he'll be a handful on this day. I got him on top. A Telescope, another horse you mentioned, the Michael Stouty horse. A Galileo is probably the hottest sire in the world. He'll love a mile and a half. He's run a mile and a half 3 times, 2 wins and a second, so no problem there. And Main Sequence, I put him in the 3rd spot since coming over to America. He is undefeated, and a very nice record for him. Made $1,000,006 for Graham Motion. John Velasquez in the irons for that one. I got 4, 1, and 12. On to the 10th. So Breeders' Cup Sprints. And I have gone to the 6th horse, Rich Tapestry.
Yeah.
Interesting horse. It comes out of Japan. One of the first horses to come out of Japan and run the Breeders' Cup in 20 years or more. It's only happened one at a time. He came over. He was a decent price of the day against Golden Sands and Secret Circle, and he won by a nose. Very impressive race. I like this horse a lot. He got 105 buyer that day.
Right.
And I like the fact, he's running very well overseas. They brought him to America. They got 1 run over the track. It was a success. He won at Santa Anita. I like him going into here. I got him on top. Secret Circle, he'll probably be one of your favorites going postward. Bob Baffert, Martin Garcia, he's always tough. He won this race last year, and look for him to be a handful again. And in the 3rd spot, I went with Palace out of Linda Rice Barn, Cornelio Velasquez. Another one that's putting up big numbers, running 6 and 7 furlongs in the tough New York circuit. He just always seems to be there. He's 11 for 22 lifetime. He's made $1,000,003. I got him in the 3rd spot. I got 6, 4, and 8.
Yeah, I've got your same top 2. If those 2 don't win, I'm not too sure who is going to win.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I think the 4 Secret Circle is the
worst.
worst.
I kind of looked around for a 3rd horse, but those are the 2 I liked.
Secret Circle, off a big layoff like that, to be out there in a Grade 1 last time, going fast fractions, and held well behind Rich Tapestry and Golden Sense. I thought that was a very good race. It doesn't seem to have taken too much out of him. He's come back to work very well since, and just seems to be a horse moving forward. Coming back in a month, and much better time frame for Secret Circle, nicely drawn, and I like this horse. I agree with the 6 Rich Tapestry. He was up front early, shuffled back a bit, came running on late and won, and got a nice 105 buyer. So he's live, of course, as well. And I put the 14 Bourbon Courage. I think it's a little bit of a flyer here, a horse that did win going 6.5 and an optional 80 at Keeneland. But this horse has been running in some Grade 2, Grade 3, actually ran in the Grade 1 Dawn, but also I've been running against some pretty good horses going farther, and I think maybe 6 furlongs might be what he wants to do. Santana rides for a very hot Kellen Gorder. He's just been going great guns in the Midwest, but this horse, and I like the 14 post. This horse stay clear of trouble, and if you're going to be outside, you may as well be, if you want 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you'd rather have 14 rather than, being the chance of getting squeezed from either side. 14 is a way better draw than the 10, let's say. But I'm going to put him in for 3rd, but I think the 4 and 6 are the horses. I went 4, 6, 14. On to the 5th race, the Breeders' Cup Mile. This is the Turf Mile.
No,
Usually the Europeans,
no
no
wise Dan,
Goldakova
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It seemed like she won it every year there for about
3 years.
yeah, no. I ended up on the 5 Toronado.
Yeah.
For Richard Hannon and Richard Hughes, actually. Back-to-back runner-up efforts in his last 2 in Group 1 races at Longchamp.
Horses that have come back to win.
These are huge performances against Kingman and Charm Spirit. Those are top Group 1 horses in Europe. This horse he's run well in France, run well in England. This is a live horse, nicely drawn in gate 5. He's the morning line favorite. Don't have a lot really to add. Obviously, we don't know a lot about these horses, but they do tend to dominate.
But he likes to win.
He likes to win races, and they tend to dominate the Breeders' Cup miles in the past. The 4 horse Mustajib for Dermot Weld and Pat Smullen. That was the second one I went to. Connections are going to go on Lasix as well. Horse that hasn't missed the bowl. He missed the board once in its life, and it was in its career debut. Horse that's progressing quite nicely, and just a 3-year-old, but still a horse that's favorably drawn in gate 4. And I put the 10 horse, Summerfront, another roughie, the horse I've been following. He's a horse that just seems to find trouble. Hopefully with a clean trip one day, he will be able to win the money. Javier Castellano rides for Christophe Clement. This horse has been troubled in he's been compromised in most of his races, but that's the problem. When you come from off the pace, you fall mercy to what happens in front of you. And he's been in small fields where the field is really bottled up, and he's never really gotten fortunate. I think with a big field, it might stretch out, and he might get a little better run. So I'm going to try him at 30-1 maybe. I went 5, 4, and 10.
I agree with the 5 Toronado. One thing that really strikes me about this horse is that in Europe, you don't see horses string together a lot of wins, right? It's not like over here where you see horses, win 4 or 5 in a row. And he's 6 for 11 lifetime with 3 seconds. So that's really impressive, I feel, for a horse from Europe. Coming over here, he just got beat ahead, as you mentioned, by 2 very good horses in his last 2. He's your morning line favorite. He's my pick. The second spot, I went with another Euro Trade Storm. Come over, ran in the Woodbine Mile, won that, and made a very nice move to win that. He's got a big kick and got a 102 buyer for that. So I like the fact he's got a race over here.
Right.
And now he comes into Santa Anita. And the third spot, I went with the 2, obviously, Joe Talamo for Phil D'Amato. A horse that was putting up 107 buyers and absolutely crushing at a mile on the turf at Santa Anita. His last start at Delmar, he had his head turned, so he broke really slow. And then he rushed up, and they went in like 22-1 and 45, and obviously he got tired. He went quicker fractions than that because he broke terrible. It still got the lead and just got tired, but obviously he's a very consistent little horse. 11 for 21 lifetime.
He'll be clear of trouble. You're going to be winging.
Yeah, he'll be gone. You're going to have to catch him to win. So I got him in the third spot. 5, 8, and 2 for me. In the 11th, on to the 12th, the Classic, the big one. The $5 million Breeders' Cup Classic. I've gone to your favorite. I'd love to see this horse win. I think it'd be great for the industry. Jim Romes and company's horse, Shared Belief, 7 for 7 lifetime. That last race, they pushed him out wide the whole way. He did none of the best of it, and he still won. He's got a lot of heart. Pass him to Cash. You're going to have to beat him. So I got Shared Belief on top. Of course, under Mike Smith. In the second spot, I went to the 9. I went to a bit of a flyer on a long shot European horse, Toast of New York. Ran very well overseas, winning by 12 and 16. That's another thing you don't really see over there is horses winning by a dozen lengths. He came over here. His first start at Belmont, he ran 6th. Then he came back, ran at Del Mar, ran 2nd to Shared Belief in his last one. So I don't mind Toast of New York in the exacta. And the third spot, I went with Tonalist. Another 3-year-old having a very good year. He won the Belmont, and the longer they go, the more he'll like it. And a mile and a quarter, he's got to win in a mile and a quarter. He's a tap-it. He's got the breeding. Joel Rosario, Christophe Clement, Tonalist. 6, 9, 11 for me in the Classic.
Yeah, just looking at the form here. California Chrome, who almost won the Triple Crown. I mean,
isn't even in my top 3.
No, but it's not even the best 3-year-old.
Yeah,
you imagine
exactly.
that, like a horse almost winning the Triple Crown and likely not even the best 3-year-old. As the
I picked 2 3-year-olds. I didn't even pick them. Yeah.
That Shared Belief has just been phenomenal. Unfortunately, he had to miss the Triple Crown. But Shared Belief. Everything went wrong last time, and he still won.
Yeah,
like, there was a 7-day suspension too.
Impressive
Victor
race.
Espinoza for hurting Shared Belief out around the first turn, and through the backstretch. This horse still beat some nice older horses, and at Santa Anita. So I mean, he's got the win over the course. He got nicely drawn, and definitely your horse to beat. I put the 8 horse Zebo in for second, a horse that Ran behind Tonalist last time, perhaps got a little too far out of it. Didn't get the best of the inside. Might not have been the best place to be. Tonalist got first run on him over that track, and I think Zevo might be worth following. And there's not much between Zevo and Tonalist, but and I put the 7 Bayer, and I have to respect this horse. Wire-to-wire score in the Pennsylvania Derby. He's another cool horse that when he fires huge. He's a neat horse, and like he flopped in the Travers at Saratoga, but he's back on his home track at Santa Anita where he's run some big races.
He's run some huge races.
He's 2 for 2 at Santa Anita. When he wins by a pile. But he's got speed. I don't know if Marino's going to go after him. I can see him maybe getting a lead and not getting a lot of pressure. And he's a nice horse to give the lead to. So I think you need him on your ticket as well. I went 6, 8, and 7 in the 12th and final Breeders' Cup race, the $5 Million Classic. Next up on screen, there's our recap. That's our analysis of the card. And here's our recap. Back in race number 1, I went to the 8-horse War Alert. I went 8, 12, and 3. Race number 2, I went to the 1. Acceptance, for my money, one of the best bets of the day is the 1 Acceptance. I went 1, 4, and 7. The 3rd race went to the 3 Stars Above Me. Definitely very live. I like her a lot if she relaxes behind the speed. 3, 5, and 14. 4th race, the Juvenile Fillies. I went to the 7-horse Majestic Presence. Come on, let's go with Majestic Presence for Mark D. Domenico and Glenn Todd. 7, 4, and 8. 5th race, the Breeders' Cup Turf, Filly and Mare Turf. I went to the 2-horse Just the Judge. 2, 3, and 8 in the 5th. 6th race, the Filly and Mare Sprint. I went to the 6-horse Lee Court over the 2, Little Alexis, and the 7, Judy the Beauty. In race number 7, I went to the 2, Silentio in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. 2, 1, and 5 for me in the 7th. The 8th race, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I went to the 12. That is the very good Daredevil over the 12 Upstart, or pardon me, the 13 Upstart. 12, 13, and 4 for me in the Juvenile. In the 9th race, the Breeders' Cup Turf, I went to the 1 Telescope over the 4 Brown Panther. I went 1, 4, and 12. The 10th race, the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I landed on the 4 Secret Circle over the 6 Rich Tapestry. 4, 6, and 14. In the 11th race, the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. I landed on the 4 Toronado. 5, 4, and 10. And in the Classic, as I just mentioned, I went to the 6. The very good Shared Belief, undefeated Shared Belief. Hopefully he maintains it. 6, 8, and 7.
On to my picks, there we are. In the 1st, I went to the 10, Guilty over the 12 and the 5. In the 2nd, I went with Mario. Number 2, Wake Up Nick over the 1 and the 4. In the 3rd, I went to the 4, Velvet Mesquite over the 7 and the 10. In the 4th, the Juvenile Filly, I'm agreeing with Mike here. Let's go for the boss's horse, Majestic Presence over the 2 and the 8. In the 5th, I went to the 3, Dank over the 2 and the 10. In the 6th, the Filly Mare Sprint, I went to the 5, Artemis Agroterra over the 7 and the 9. In the 7th, I went with the 14, No Nay Never. I had the 9, Free as a Bird there, so I scratched him. I'll move the 5, Ambitious Brew, into the 2nd spot, and I'll put the 1, Renee's Got Zip, in the 3rd spot. In the 8th, the Juvenile, I put number 4, The Great War on top, over 12, Daredevil. I had the 5, American Pharaoh, in the 3rd spot. He's a scratch. I'll put the 9, Carpe Diem, in there instead. In the 9th race, the Turf, I had Magician, the 8-horse on top. He scratched. I picked all the scratched horses. So I'll move up Brown Panther as my top pick, the 4 over the 1 Telescope, and I'll put the 12, Main Sequence, in the 3rd spot. In the 10th, the Sprint, I went with number 6, the Japanese Invader, Rich Tapestry, over the 4 Secret Circle, and the 8 Palace. In the 11th, the Turf Mile, I agree with Mike on number 5, Toronado, over the 8 Trade Storm, the 2 obviously. And in the Classic, the big one, I went with the 6. I'm with Mike on number 6, Shared Belief, over the 9 Toast of New York, and the 11 Tonalist.
Alrighty, thanks everyone for tuning in. We wish everyone lots of luck on the weekend. This will be the final Handicapper Corner show of the 2014 season.
We'll see you in April.
Drew, and of course our crew here, Jason and Ray, who take time out of their regular day jobs to help us out here to produce the show. Once again, our thanks to Glenn Todd, who just put up the money and gets all this camera equipment so we can get more insight and more information out to all the people that are interested in betting.
Try and make you a little money.
Yes, and once again, we do have handicapping contests here at the Derby Bar and Grill
every Saturday. Yep.
So if you're in the South Surrey area, come on out.
Every Saturday after Breeders' Cup.
After Breeders' Cup, yes. Starting on November the 8th.
8th,
will
correct.
be our first handicapping contest. It's always popular, so come on out and enjoy that. So we look forward to seeing everyone throughout the winter here at the Derby Bar and Grill. And thank you very much for watching us here on Handicapper's Corner. Good luck, everyone.
The morning works look fine. You know the jockeys, brothers are friends.